So guys, with the new Sony A6400 that has come out, and it's got the new real-time IAF and real-time tracking, and also the animal IAF. I've been thinking about the Rx10 Mark IV. Will they do a firmware upgrade on it? Because it's obviously got a very quick and powerful autofocus system, obviously derives from the A9. And I'm just thinking, will they transfer that into the Rx10 Mark IV, or is this now going to migrate into a new version, the Rx10 Mark V? So having the animal IAF, the real-time animal IAF, and the real-time tracking as well would be rather awesome. I use the A7R3, and the update's coming for that very soon. And I think a few people are a bit stuck in their ways. They think the IAF is actually a bit of a gimmick, but actually it's one hell of a tool. Once you get your head around it and start using it, it saves you so much time messing about. You can compose. It takes away the hassle, and you can actually sort of compose your shot while things are happening. Also, the eyes are going to be 100% sharp. So I was thinking, obviously, about this update. The Rx10 Mark V. Will it be coming soon? Normally September, October time. It's been out. It's coming up to its second year. So that's probably around about the right moment. And obviously, this massive advancement in the autofocus and everything like that. What would the Mark V have in it is the question. So I've written down a few things that I think, because I use it so much, there's a few things that obviously I think that it maybe could improve. We can improve with. Obviously the new version is probably being built right now, and we don't even know it. But so with the Mark V version, the Rx10 Mark V, I'd love to see an improvement with the HFR. Is one of the things I love using the high-speed frame rate, and basically doing slow motion video is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love that. It would be possible. I'd love to get up to 2,000 frames per second, but also bring it up to full HD through the range. So everything from 250, 500, 1,000, maybe 1,500 and 2,000 frames per second without any upscaling. Obviously the IAF and the animal IAF and the real-time tracking obviously added. The sensor can't really get any bigger. To keep the body the same size and a usable size, the 1-inch sensor is obviously been. They've obviously started with the 1-inch sensor and built the camera around it. And obviously 24 to 600 millimeters is brilliant. It really gives you a nice range. But if they could squeeze it up to say 720 millimeters, would be rather awesome. It's still keeping it f4, and that's the major benefit. The f4 lens at 600mm at the moment is amazing compared to the sort of Nikon's P1000, which is ridiculous at 3000 millimeters, which makes the camera enormous. And also it's a small sensor, even smaller than the Rx10 Mark IV. It's almost half the size, and low light and everything like that, it's just pointless. So that camera to me is a bit of a gimmick. I'd rather have less zoom but keep the awesome quality, and that's what the Rx10 they've done with the Rx10 Mark IV, and also having the stupidly fast autofocus. We know that a smaller sensor, the depth of field isn't quite as shallow compared to say a full frame 35mm. But the zoom range, with that amount of zoom, even the 600mm, you can blur the backgrounds out quite nicely most of the time. The other thing is the zooming in and out whilst the autofocus is zooming in and out while the autofocus is active. So if you've got your finger half pressed and you're tracking something, you can't zoom in and out. You can with video, but not when you're shooting stills, and that's one thing I would love to be able to do. Obviously, if you're using a 100 to 400 or a 70 to 200 lens, normally on an A7R3 or an A7 III or something like that, you've got full control, and it still works fine. So if they could implement that would be awesome. Because at the moment I have to let off, zoom out or zoom in, and then refocus. Luckily, the camera is so fast at autofocus, you very rarely miss anything, but you still do miss the odd shot. 24 frames per second is mad anyway, but if they want to increase it slightly to maybe 30 frames per second stills, that would be rather cool. Onto the 4K video, 25 frames per second is actually really handy for low light. So if you're shooting in a low light obviously scenario, having 25 frames per second is actually quite handy because you can keep your ISO down and shoot quite well. But 4K 60 frames per second would be quite nice for moving subjects. ISO performance improvement on the sensor. Maybe I'm thinking if they can, 64 ISO up to 1000 ISO, really nice and clean. Everything above that you very rarely use in the real world. Even ISO 800 or something would be really cool. And obviously because you've got such a fast lens, f2.4 to f4, your shutter speeds are faster compared to something like a 150 to 600mm f6.3 lens. So the benefits are there straight away. The size of the Rx10 Mark IV is great. I really get on with the size of it. It's brilliant. It fits in a smallish bag. It feels good in the hand, and it works well. It's pretty well weather sealed. I've used it in heavy rain, wind, and snow, and everything like that, and it's got absolutely covered. The only bad time was when I got some sand over it, and it got in the focus dial and the zoom ring a bit gritty. Eventually, it's worked its way out, but I don't know if it actually did any damage in there. I have no idea, but it's not stopped working. It still works fine. Would be nice if they could improve the buffer speed, write speeds to the cards twice as fast, for example, or put an even larger buffer on to deal with that. Touch screen, obviously more advanced, so you can actually touch the menu system. Even though you've got the function button, you don't really need to go into the menus that often. It's still quite handy. Maybe a couple of buttons extra on the body somewhere, just a couple of more customizable buttons. And then the big one is upgrade the battery to the same one as the A7 III, A7R3 and A9, because that's a massive game changer. The battery lasts for ages. Autofocus speed is already ridiculously fast, but if they could add some more focus points across the sensor a little bit more, it may miss less shots. Because a few recently, if you've seen my one with the ducks flying at about 60 miles an hour at me, as they moved almost out of shot, it obviously missed focus a couple of times, so maybe that would calm that down. HD video up to 240 frames per second. Obviously a GoPro can do that, so that as a full HD normal video would be quite cool. Obviously a normal 100 frames per second HD video as well, and obviously you've got the 4K. Another one as well would be the EVF. If they could put a larger EVF in it, and also a soft eyepiece, because it's quite rigid and firm, and it's not that comfortable compared to, say, the A7R3's eyepiece. And the EVF, sometimes the resolution probably could do with being a little bit better. These sorts of improvements would make the new version of the Rx10 absolutely insane. It would almost make it perfect. And it's already at the moment the world's best bridge camera, the Rx10 Mark IV. So it allows me and many other people, enthusiasts and professionals, to get a camera that when you don't want to take all of your gear with you, with all your lenses and all that sort of stuff, it allows you to take one camera that's a good size. Yes, there's the Rx100 Mark VI and obviously Mark V, 4, 3, 2, whatever, that fit in your pocket. But when you're at a certain level, you want a bit more. You want the more bells and whistles, for example, and you want to be able to have more control and more zoom and everything like that. And it's changed my life as well. I miss hardly any shots now, where compared to actually, I might be able to have a wide angle lens on my A7R3 and I'd have a 600mm lens in my bag, and something's landed in front of me and I thought, oh, here we go, right, quietly and slowly move, get the lens off, try and swap over, and the moment's happened. When you've got the Rx10 Mark IV with me, for example, or the 5 when it comes out, you turn it on, you zoom in, you've got the shot, and you've no messing about. So that's where it really, really makes a difference. I use mine obviously side by side with the A7R3 with the multiple lenses and everything like that, and it really works. And I'd happily pay, say, £2,000 or $2,000 or whatever for a new version that comes out, say the Mark 5. That's if they keep it the RX10 series. The next version, obviously, if it delivers all these improvements, I reckon, I think it might need, but probably not. But we can all dream. But if they do improve some other things, which they have done on every other camera that they bring out, hopefully they've been listening to customers and asking people, and hopefully implementing some of them. A bit like the new updates with the time lapse function, everything that's coming, which we used to have on the Minoltas. That's absolutely brilliant. So I can't wait to mess around with that next month. But obviously, just a recap on the new RX10 Mark 5, if that's what they're going to call it. I'd love to see a bigger and improved buffer and the speed of it. The IAF with the animal IAF and the live tracking would be good. The bigger battery, there's definitely space for it there. A little bit more zoom. It's not the end of the world because 600mm is awesome anyway. But keeping it still at f4, but maybe slightly longer zoom, maybe 720, or the other way maybe go back down to 18. So 18 to 600, that would be quite a nice range because you get some really lovely wide angle shots there. It just depends on lens design and if it's actually possible. The better EVF, high resolution, better frame rate and everything like that, and also the softer eye cup, so you can actually get your eye up there, because at the moment it's just a rigid one. It's not all that great. You kind of live with it, but a better screen on the back with maybe even the flippy 180 degree bit that the A6400's now got. That's actually quite handy, especially if you're vlogging with it. I might use it a bit more like that. But whatever happens, we know that Sony released a new version. It's going to have massive improvements, across the range of some sort. So I really hope that they do something that's going to make everyone go whoa. And if it's anything that I've just talked about, I'm hoping it could be really, really, really good. But anyway, any of your thoughts? Let me know below if you've got an RX10 Mark IV or any of the previous cameras, the RX10s. Put some comments down. We'll have a little discussion. Here are some photos from the RX10 Mark IV that you've been looking at while I've just been scrolling through. They are cropped in, so there's quite a few hundred pictures here, so I haven't moved any around, so it may have cropped off a few bits and pieces here, but just shows you kind of what the pictures are like once you get to used to using the camera. It just shows you how usable it is, from wide angle like this to zoomed in a bit with a swan, and lots of other shots. And as you can see there, you get some lovely soft backgrounds as well at 600mm, and then swan and reflections. A lot of it is pure luck, obviously. Right place, right time. As you can see, that's been cropped off, unfortunately, but the full photo is actually, correct. This is my favourite tree. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just boom. It's really cool. Church as well. But as you can see, like even shooting through the autofocus system locks on already. This generation so well. Obviously, another 600mm shot there with f4. Even there, that pheasant was probably 20-30 feet away, and it's still, nice bokeh in the background. But the details there, 20 megapixels is plenty. We know that. Could have done with slightly faster shutter speed there, but because you've got the 1 to 32,000th of a second shutter speed, your range is huge. I know a lot of people miss the ND filter, but I don't think it's the end of the world. You can always screw one on. It's not the end of the world. That's the range. So that's 24mm. And the previous shot where you can see people stood at the edge of the cliff like idiots, it was at 600mm. This shot here at 600mm, and as you can see, lovely and sharp. And just the general dynamic range of the camera is very good as well. The image sharpness and everything is awesome. Yes, some of these photos have been tweaked slightly, but only raw processing. And just the way the autofocus system works, that's shot at ISO 1000, so if it's well lit, it's not too bad. You can get away with a higher ISO. This is in an aquarium, which there is a video up, but shooting at ISO 1000 most of the time in there, and I was actually quite impressed. But if they could clean that up even more, that'd be awesome. So if we could actually have an ISO 1000, you can see there it's struggling a little bit, but it's still usable images. They're not that bad. So shooting stuff like this in an aquarium at wide angle and right up against the glass, but in daylight, when you've got some lovely light like that, and that shot there, the quality is as good in my book as, you know, a good quality DSLR or high quality mirrorless camera. As you can see there, really sharp images, no issues at all. The benefits of having f4 compared to, say, an f2.8 600mm is one, size, but it actually helps you out. Being the slightly smaller sensor, you actually get things that are slightly more in focus without, you know, messing up your shot as such. So your depths have become actually more usable. There's a few shots I've taken where I actually had it wide open on the A7R3 and had it obviously at f4 on the Rx10 Mark IV, and I actually prefer the shot on the Rx10 Mark IV because there's slightly more depth there. But you can lock on to anything. You know, this tiny little spot focus in the middle is brilliant for cutting through things. As you can see there, nice and sharp on there. Even locking onto snow, no problem at all. That was intentional. Everything from, you know, any animals, but the animal IAF is going to be awesome. So you'll actually be able to track animals moving around. Low down through the grass, sorry, and even a swallow there chirping away, and some horses. But you know, it's just been you know, the last year or so, a real joy to use this camera, and it's changed. Like I say, it's changed my photography, the way I work with it now. I mean, that's a buzzard. There's a swallow actually photobombed there, blue tip there. You know, the shots here I would have missed because I would have had a wide angle lens on, or not quite big enough zoom on the full frame camera, and it just allows so much. You know, yes, if you're using it for work and stuff like that, yeah, you're gonna ideally have a full frame camera with all the different lenses and stuff. But if you're just going out for a walk, or days out, or you know, whatever, and you're just doing it for pleasure and stuff like this, is awesome. You can really get some cool shots. Shooting f16 there, wide angle, you get a lovely starburst from the sun. Tracking all those animals there, the birds flying. This is a woodpecker of some sort. I don't actually know what type, but to get him was quite cool. You've seen me shooting the Apache helicopters. There's another video. You know, I would have had a wide angle lens on at the time and I would have missed them. So massive difference. Chicken, as you do. Which is actually my auntie's and their dog. But anything you can. It's such a usable piece of equipment. You know, from wide angle f2.4 on your dog, on the eyes. And this is where the difference is. You see a lot of animal portraits that someone would have focused on the nose, but to have IAF button on, it would just lock onto the eye instantly. That's going to be a game changer because it's going to give us better images without the mistakes. You know, but as long as you know why it's done it, I think that's the difference. Even food shots like this, you know, it's not. It gives you a lovely background depth. You know, it's just lovely and shallow. Being up there on the beachy head, taking sunset shots, a couple of cars, the old Jaguar E-Type and an F-Type there, and even product stuff like this. You know, shooting at 600mm, you've got a 90cm. The depth is the shortest you can focus. So actually, at 600mm, it gives you quite a nice sort of narrow band of view, but also quite a shallow depth as well, which works really nicely. But also, as you can see there, it's not just one pencil that's in focus. Most of them are, and then it starts to soften off, so it works really well. Pardon me. But that's it, guys. So let me know what you think about the new Rx10 Mark V that's probably going to come out this year, I'd imagine. I'm only predicting that. I don't actually know. But those improvements would make the camera absolutely insanely good. The Rx10 Mark IV and the Mark III and the Mark II and even the Mark I are all amazing cameras. But technology is moving on constantly all the time. Not necessarily picture quality itself, it's just the way they work, how much faster they work, and how much, you know, other things they have in them that you can actually make the most of. You know, the fact, you know, 1,000 frames per second autofocus, yeah, we can. 1,000 frames per second slow motion video, yeah, you can do that in a mobile phone, but you can't do it at 600mm f4 in fully manual, or even at wide angle. So there's a massive difference in that area. You know, and the slow-mo guys, who are amazing, I love watching their stuff. They were only using 1,000 frames per second a few years ago, and their cameras were costing thousands. Obviously, they're using ridiculous things now, like the Phantoms and stuff like that, which obviously recording at much higher frame rates. But you know, it's one of those things. It's kind of cool. I think just a quick summary on the way the cameras are going. They have got smaller, obviously the mirrorless, but I think the Rx10 Mark IV as an all-in-one is just the perfect size. It's 1 kilo in weight. yeah, at the moment we have to take a couple of batteries with us just in case, but it was an all-in-one package. It's bang on. And I, if the next version comes and they've improved it slightly, it's going to be well worth the upgrade. That's it, guys. Anyway, like I say, comment below, ask some questions, make some comments. We'll start a little chat. See what your recommendations are. If you own an Rx10 camera of any of the numbers there, any of the Mark versions, from 1 to 4, let me know what you'd like to see in the improvements, and hopefully Sony might watch this and they might actually implement it into the new one. You never know. I will actually send them a link email and someone might actually watch it. So anyway, guys, I'll see you soon. Please subscribe, please click the notification bell, and I'll speak to you soon.